We have here two seemingly identical USB power bricks. The left one is a genuine Apple one that would come with an iPhone, specifically an iPhone 6 is the one that came with. And then on the right we have a brick designed by Happy in Trauel. Trauel. So the one on the right will not boot up a Raspberry Pi, but the one on the left will. So we suspect the power is dirty. So we're going to look at an oscilloscope and compare the two. The Happy in Trauel USB power cube is 5 volts with 1.1 amps, and the Apple power cube is 5 volts with 1 amp. Before we plug in and test both bricks, this would be the baseline for noise on the input into our oscilloscope. First up is the Apple.
On the vertical axis here we have voltage, right? So we're reading approximately, let's see, somewhere around 5 volts. And you can see it's pretty flat. There is some noise, but this is very likely just noise on the line. So zooming out, with the Apple charger, we still have a nice clean 5 volts DC. Really no fluctuations to speak of other than the noise that is probably being induced by our measurement.
Next up is the Happy in Trauel.
Okay, so this is pretty dirty. You can see a lot of movement on this trace. The delta in millivolts is really jumping around much more significantly than it was on the previous one. Sometimes up to almost half a volt, which is not good, for a Raspberry Pi. So this is, not only do you see a little bit wider of this noise coming through, but you also see the whole line kind of wiggle. And look at that. When you zoom out on the Happy in Trauel, you see a nice little sawtooth type wave. That's not noise, that's just coming from our device. So you can see a real difference in the quality of the DC signal coming out of these two chargers.
Okay, we've disassembled both. On the left is the Chinese knockoff cube, and on the right is the Apple Good China cube. You could see there's a lot less components on the knockoff one. And Ben, what are some examples here on the nicer, cleaner power cube?
A lot of stuff, look at all that. Huh? I mean, you have a number of there's this integrated circuit. I don't know, maybe that's a timing device of some kind. You've got a whole number of, surface mount devices, through-hole devices, resistors, diodes, capacitor there.
And then comparing it to
this guy,
we just have basically, what do we got? A transformer, some capacitors.
Yeah, you can see the transformer, capacitor, transistor, diode, resistor. I don't know what this is. Maybe it's like a quartz oscillator or something. I'm guessing. Another diode and resistor there, capacitor. Much simpler design. As opposed to this guy, which has way more to it, much more sophisticated design. A lot more control over the output here.
Based on what we've just seen with the oscilloscope, the Apple brick creates pretty clean DC power, good enough to power up a Raspberry Pi, while the Happy in Trauel Chinese knockoff brick, even though they're both made in China, the one on the right is obviously of subpar quality. and does not produce clean enough DC power to power up the Raspberry Pi, and it causes it to basically not boot up. So thank you for watching. Feel free to check out my other videos and subscribe.